So when it comes to flipping, you have to have an eye. And that means being able to look at this before and trying to make it go to an after. And sometimes it can be completely drastic as far as how much money you can make from a flip, but you have to make sure you're doing it right. So you're not spending too much money in the things that don't matter and the things that do matter. When it comes to the world that we live in, we are knocked down daily by things like inflation, big business, um, debt, and just inflation. So the cost of goods and services going up. Like even with COVID, even for you to do some repairs on some houses, the lumber was outrageous. The vinyl was outrageous. Just everything was outrageous to the point that you have to figure out what strategy you're going to use to help you beat inflation, big business, debt, and taxes. And one thing you can do is invest in real estate. So I'm Stephanie Stewart, a real estate agent here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am brokered through eXp Realty, and my brand is Educate to Own, where I help teach people how to go from these before and afters and how to get those massive returns, mostly by inspiration of the show. It all started for me when I broke my arm and I was sitting on the couch one day and HGTV was my best friend. So I looked at things like flip and flop, flip or flop. I looked at things like international houses, just different things to really see what was really going. But this one show was able to give me enough inspiration to make me see, yes, I could probably do that. That's nothing but taking out a window and putting on some siding, adding some paint, okay, cutting a bush. You know, it made it seem like it was okay until you see some of these houses where you be like, they doing magic. And it's not necessarily that they're doing magic, but it's being able to take those skills to really be able to put the house back together to make it look pretty. So the question is really, do you have what it takes? Can you make something tragic magic? Some of the reasons that most flips fail are going to be 5 main things. That's going to be not having enough money, so not budgeting for the hard and soft costs. It's going to be not having enough time to do it. So say you're working full time, you may have kids, you may have soccer practice or whatever it is that you're doing in your hobbies where it's draining you to have enough time. And when your time runs up, now you're hitting city fees and everything because the house still doesn't have windows, the house still doesn't have sidings. You may not have enough skills. You can look at a property and think it's cosmetic, but then realize that you may not have an electrician or a plumber or a foundation specialist for the things that may go wrong as soon as you start knocking down walls and really seeing what the property has in store for you. Another big thing is not having the knowledge or the patience. If you are not teamed up with a series of experts to really understand what that market is, I've seen a lot of people put money into houses and they've only made what they put into it. They paid too much for it. And then understand that flipping is not a month thing. It's not you buy a property, put some work into it, then you sell it next month. No. This can maybe take 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year if you're doing a complete rehab just because of changing seasons, having an end buyer, anything like that. So with some flips, you may be a contractor where you can fix up the property on your own. But if you're not advertising or spending marketing dollars or marketing your property of all the success you did, you don't really have an end buyer. When you don't have an end buyer, you're still paying the water bill, you're still paying the heating bill, you're still paying the homeowner's insurance, you're still paying the property taxes, and all these things add up. And these aren't really things that we think about when we get into flipping. So let's talk about what flipping actually is. Flipping means you're a real estate investor. You're going to purchase a property. You're going to make repairs and or upgrades, and you're going to sell it for a profit. This is usually for as something that you do as fast as possible. You put the work into it, do the FHA requirements. Some of them require them to be on the market for at least be available for at least 6 months before you can actually resell them. Some ways you can kind of get around things like that. But the main thing is to sell it and not live in it. This isn't going to be the house that you're making to make it yours. So you care about what the floor looks like or anything like that. Not saying you shouldn't care about what you're doing, but don't get too attached because it's not your house. It's an investment house. When done correctly, this can be one of the most lucrative forms of income, especially if you're getting it at the right price. You got the right contractors, you have the right labor costs, and all the numbers just work out great. It can definitely be some of the profits. Some of the profits we've seen have definitely been in the double digits. So what is the investor formula? The investor formula is going to be your after repair value times 70% minus the repairs, which is the maximum offer price. So if you were looking at $100,000 house and you times that by 70, your repairs say you got about 25,000. That means you have $45,000 left. Your max offer should be no more than 45 to 50,000. So when you're looking at your profit, you need to think about things like the resale value, the purchase price, the repair cost, the buying cost, holding cost, finance cost, selling cost. How much money do you have to put into it to fund it before you really get your marker? So for some investors, they'll say, I know that I want to make $20,000 into this flip. So they'll budget that into their numbers from jump to say, hey, we cannot go any more than this in order to make the profit that we want to make. So things to consider: the scope of work or the renovation expenses, the homeowner's insurance, the utilities like energy, heat, and water. Make sure your pipes don't burst. Make sure you can go to the bathroom. Make sure if you are going to put on the market, you know, that these things work, because if you have to ever get an inspector or an appraisal, these things have to work in order to make it sellable. And then you're going to do your final marketing of who's going to have you, or who's going to buy it from you. Are you going to put a sign out in the front yard to say, hey, for sale? Or are you going to utilize some experts like a real estate agent to put it on the multiple listing service and really market your property so you can sell it quicker to really lower some of these other expenses? To get into investing, you have to have an investor mindset. You have to follow people like Warren Buffett. His number one rule is don't lose money. His number two rule is don't lose money. And ways to produce your income is going to really know, the investor mindset is to know that you have to use money to make money, and not use things like your time for money, like an employee. A lot of people can know you can work as much as you want. You can work 1, 2, 3 jobs. You can work overtime, but that job is never going to pay you enough. When you go into self-employed, yes, you're doing it for yourself, but now you're doing everything for yourself. So you trade in a 9 to 5 for a 24/7. When you go into the right side of the sphere, or the right side of the quadrant, now you're looking at a business owner. So you're owning a system, meaning you are utilizing other people's skills and skill sets to really benefit what you're trying to do. So maybe a real estate agent, maybe somebody who works the numbers, maybe some capital contributors who can help fund it, maybe some contractors, the title company. These are all the people that you leverage in order to make this system work out so that you can end up in the investor quadrant, which means that you can use your money to make more money, but this is the elite 5% of the population. This means that you're going to use the wealth principle of using other people's money. So whose money? When it comes to flipping, there are at least 8 different people that you can go through. You can do through private lenders. Now, private lenders are going to be different than traditional lenders, which means they can make their own rules. It's their own person, their own money. They can put whatever interest rate or whatever they want, and you have to agree to those terms. So you can shop around to different people and who has the best terms. Hard money lenders are going to mostly be for business owners, like using an LLC. And then they are going to, again, have their own fees and things like that. And it's going to be a time frame. Therefore, you have to go ahead and flip it. Wholesaling, contracting, and contracts. You're going to partner with somebody who's already in the industry, who's been doing it for years. Home equity. So if you have a home, you can pull the equity out of that house, use that as the down payment maybe for the next flip, and or use it to fund the next property. You can do an option to buy. So like seller financing, when you're asking the seller, like, let me do a rent to own, or would you be able to carry out this mortgage for me? And then I'll pay you this in whatever loan terms. You definitely need an attorney for this. You're definitely going to put all of this in writing. And you're definitely going to have whatever terms that you and that seller agree to. The last one would be crowdfunding. Crowdfunding means you have a group of friends or a group of investors that say, yes, I believe in this. Let's all do it together. And you all have joint interest in it, which could or could not be messy depending on how many people are involved and how you're going to divide up those splits and who does what. So let's talk about the easy way. The easy way would be to team up with the U.S. Housing Exchange Capital Contributor Program. This would be the first step as a joint venture program where you would team up with the U.S. Housing Exchange. capital contributors, or like investors, people who are putting the money together, contractors, a realtor, and an end buyer. This means you have somebody who's already experienced with flipping houses. You already have people who, if you do not have all the money to do the house and the flip by yourself, can pair up with you. And now you guys are taking portions out of the proceeds. If you can do it all by yourself, great, you get all the proceeds. We have contractors. So if you can do the work, awesome, join the team. You can get paid for your work. In addition to having somebody else do the work so you can focus on the things that you want to do, whether that's work, family, school, whatever else that you want to do, teaming up with a realtor who can work the numbers for you, making sure that you are spending the amount that you need for that property to not end up with a flop, and actually being at a profitable flip. And then the most important thing is having somebody to put into this house that you just put all this work into. There's nothing like putting work into a property and not having anybody even looking at it because you don't have anybody in mind that wants to buy it and or it's not on the market. So this is literally an all-step program that's able to go ahead and get you teamed up with the best. Because we know life has its ups and downs. Taxes, debt, big business, and inflation are definitely things that knock everybody out. And with COVID, it's been massive, where I've seen the highest unemployment rates possible. I've seen the most people looking for stimulus checks, 1, 2, 3, looking for any other thing that can help, just because the world we live in is crazy. But we have to be able to team up with people who know that this is important or this happens, but also to have a solution for it. It's nothing like being told about all the problems in the world and not having an actual solution. So the solution was Make Wealth Real Financial. They have a credit restoration program where they are helping the end buyer get in the best position possible. So they're helping their credit go up. You know, they can buy the house from you because their credit is up through credit services. You had their debt to ratio is down, which means that they can actually take on the loan and handle the mortgage without going into foreclosure. And we're going to go ahead and help their tax reduction strategies to keep more money in their pocket and keep their cash flow up. This means that they not only can pay their mortgage, but they may be able to pay their mortgage twice, therefore being able to pay their mortgage off in record time and now having equity for themselves. And now they can go ahead and start flipping properties. The program is phenomenal. I mean, like, it's one thing to have everything like, oh, we can have these buyers from these realtors, but what about having buyers that can actually get the mortgage? Even in worst case scenarios, they have a team of experts that can help with bankruptcies, help with tax liens, help with anything that is possibly go wrong. But knowing that it's not going to be necessarily a wipe everything clean system. If you have bankruptcy, you have foreclosure, those are going to be things that put you on the waiting list. But knowing that you have something that's actually helping you get through with it. Main thing is because we know flipping is not easy. We see the TV and we see how it's profitable, but we don't really discuss the pitfalls. When it comes into flipping, even for those 8 mentioned funding resources that I talked about, some of those are going to ask if you are what's called a seasoned investor. Seasoned investors means you had so many deals within the last 24 months. If you haven't done any deals at all, you're considered a novice investor or a new investor, which means I could trust you with this money, but you could run off with it. You could lose it. You could do whatever else. So your risk is a little bit higher because you're utilizing somebody else's money and you've never done it before. Also, as we talk about the no exit strategy, you flip a house, but then you may not have an end buyer in mind. You may not even have flipped the right things per se to know what is attractive to a buyer. For instance, if you made the basement all lavish, but then you didn't update the upstairs living quarters, that might be a waste just because people live upstairs more so. The basement's not going to sell the house, but the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom sizes, these are all things that you want to know as far as what makes buyers want to go ahead and buy it. And not only buy it, but you want them to fight for that property. You want to be able to list it at a price where people are jumping on it. So now you're getting the top buyer for the property that you put your work into. So now you're getting even more profit from it. And then the whole contracting, I had an experience where I got a contractor and he ran off with $13,000 and did no work. He went to Home Depot, got a couple materials, put it in the living room, put a drill out, and was done. put a couple holes in the wall. And it was to the point where you really have to do your due diligence to find out who these contractors are. What I love about Make Wealth Real is they put cameras into the houses that they're repairing. So if anybody is sleeping on the job, not doing what they're supposed to do, taking 3 days to put up drywall that took up 30 minutes if they would have just sat and did it, we knock all that shenanigans out because we are on a mission to build these houses and get people in these houses because we understand home ownership is key. Now, we're not just talking about a theory. We're not just talking about, let me go, I'll take you to this hotel, put you in a seminar, give you this pamphlet and teach you how to do it. We put you on the field. You want to be a capital contributor? Great. Let's go do a deal together. And we learn from the process, and you see how to do it by the proceeds. And I've been in college for a very long time, and you can go to school all day, but when you get out of school, the first thing they ask is, how much experience do you have? So this is going to be a program that helps you get that experience along with the education behind it. Why? Because there's a team of specialized educators. There's a team of specialized experts who knows exactly what they're doing to help you save, make, and grow your assets. The two teams together can help you buy, sell, and flip and invest in real estate completely stress-free and really have everybody on the same page. The buyer knows exactly what they have to do to get into the house. We know the buyer wants the house. The capital contributor knows exactly what's going on the whole way through. And the realtor is able to facilitate the transactions to make sure we can get through title and closing and everything goes through on the legal side. Our capital contributors are looking at about a 6-month investment. We do say it's up to 12 months. Giving how much repair is going to be needed on the house when we find an end buyer and when the property is found. But a lot of those transactions have actually been ending in 6 months or less. And you're sitting at a return on investment of a minimum of 20%, which is unheard of. Most people out there are giving out 3%, 5%, 6%. No one has done double digits, let alone 20%. So if you want to learn how to flip and invest in real estate and have a team that already knows how to do it, and they give you the max proceeds, the partnership with Make Wealth Real Financial and the U.S. Housing Exchange is going to be the way to go. As I said before, the buyer's benefit is being able to take care of their credit, debt to income ratio, increase their buying power so that they can buy more. And if they're not told what they can buy, but they can actually say, I want a 3-bedroom ranch for my family in this area, and I can afford this because I have more cash flow, because my credit is up, because the world says that I can have these things because I took care of those minor setbacks. So how do you get started with Make Wealth Real? Make Wealth Real, you can get started in 2 different ways. You have a gold package and you have a platinum package. The gold package is going to be just the membership for $79.97. That's going to include you and your spouse or person who lives in your same household. And this is going to take care of your taxes, your debt, your bills, your credit, and building into the real estate portion of wealth accumulation, land banking, private reserve, and flipping into real estate. If you understand the 4 quadrants and you understand that a job will not pay you enough, and being self-employed is just a lot more stress, you'll understand the business side of the Make Wealth Real Financial Partnership, where they have their business and their membership together. You get everything with the $79.97, and that includes the 475 tax deductions and the instant pay raise. So these are going to be ways to go ahead and use the IRS strategies to shift more of your income back into your household, because now you have a home-based business. If you don't believe me, you can go literally to the irs.gov, look up tax refund, look on paragraph 3, and read what's highlighted. But this is really just a different way to get on that other side of the wealth track without having to get that inventory, figure out a business plan, figure out what you're going to actually make a business in and how you're going to make money, because the system is already done for you. So let's talk about a little bit more about what it takes to be a capital contributor. The minimum to be a capital contributor is going to be $10,000 to participate. This is at minimum because the houses we're looking at is about 100,000. If the house is 100,000 or the after repair value is 100,000, we still have to do for the cost of the house. So say that's 30 or 40,000 plus the repairs and everything like that. If you only have 10,000, you're only getting a portion of it. In order to get into the program, you have to get a Wyoming LLC. Even if you have a regular LLC, you need to get the Wyoming LLC because it's an anonymous LLC. This means if you have any legal issues on any of your other LLCs or any random lawsuit that pops up, it can't affect your properties, which is great because now nobody can take your stuff. So by doing the Wyoming LLC, it's just a way to protect yourself and to protect the company to make sure you don't have any lawsuits or anything else coming up. After you go ahead and get that, join Make Wealth Financial, Make Wealth Real Financial, and you'll be at our junior position in the real estate transaction to participate in the My Landlord Aspired program as a capital contributor. All those words means you get to team up with us and we show you what to do, and you're at a junior position until you learn how to do it and go on your own. Step 3 is the capital contributor is going to put down 20% to the down payment of the property. So if you're buying a $100,000 property and it needs $50,000 of work and it's worth $200,000 after repair value, your LLC, you the capital contributor, is responsible for a $20,000 down payment. U.S. Housing Exchange covers everything else. So the rest of the 80%, the acquisition, the house, the repair costs, all you pay is that 20%. And then you have the My Landlord Aspired client, which is usually one of my buyers. They have already committed to say, yes, I'll pay $200K for this property. And they're putting their earnest money down for it. So that way, as soon as the repairs are done, my buyer can already meet you at the closing table. So it's repaired, done, paperwork. Everything goes in line. We don't even start doing work on that house until we have an end buyer that says, yes, I'm going to pay this dollar amount. So what do you do during all that time? We get the construction team together. We are analyzing the scope of work. We're going through the property, seeing what needs to be done, putting the cameras up to make sure everything is done. The My Landlord Aspired. So one of my clients and our customers through the buyer through my real estate program is going to say, I want this color floors. I want this in my bathroom. I want this $400 tub. They can pick whatever they want within a certain packet, and these contractors are going to put it all together for them. This ensures that the person is going to love the house. They're going to keep paying their mortgage because it's something they created. They didn't have to settle for something or say, okay, well, this is what was available and I had to move, so I guess we'll find something later. It takes all of that out because you're designing exactly what you want, and we help you get in a position to pay it off. Step 5 is going to be the earnest money deposit that goes to the title company as any regular transaction. The capital contributor is going to receive the terms of the transaction, so the offer, everything that goes to the deal, because you are still in on the deal. U.S. Housing Exchange is going to send a promissory note and or proof of funds to go ahead and transfer the funds for the property. The capital contributor will need to provide at least 2 months of the most recent bank statements, and this is to say that your money is seasoned. Federal law, warning. There's an anti-money laundering requirement. Any money that you're going to use on a property has to sit in your account for at least 2 months. We didn't make up the rule, the government did. But a lot of that just to make sure that nothing funny is going on and we're all on terms with legal terms. After everything is done with the paperwork, the LLC partnership, the U.S. Housing Exchange, everything is funded. The capital contributor then walks away with 20% interest based on the 12 months, even if they only did it in 4 to 6 months. So say the actual flip only did 4 months. You're still going to get your 20% interest for those 12 months, even if it didn't take that long. If it did take that long, you still get the money either way. And in addition to that 20%, you're getting 5% of the net profits. So whatever we net out after what we sell it for, you get 5% of that. Now that can vary if you put more money down. These are just minimums. If you put more money down and or you can actually maybe fund the whole house and just not the repair costs, now you're maybe looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. It goes up based off of how much you're actually invested into the deal. And then closing day, wire funds. You can see everything, goes back on the market. Be sure to leave a review. Look at everything through the app because we live in a world of technology. You can literally download US Housing Exchange. You can see everything that's being done in real time. You can be able to say, hey, I see this guy. He hasn't been doing anything the last 2 days. I want a new one. You have the right to do that. It's your joint venture. So it's just being able to have really control over what's going on and making sure that you're not getting duped out of any money. Things that you want to do, make sure you understand the home buyers program. We do have another webinar set up to actually go in detail what the home buyer program looks like and how I actually do go ahead and help buyers, and we can clarify any question that you have. You also want to be able to involve anybody involved moving forward. So say you want to do an LLC and you and your partner are part of a joint venture with this LLC. Make sure that person is in our meetings and they know what's going on so you're not just writing checks behind their back. Understand that even though we try to minimize as many risks as possible, there are still risks. Say we get an end buyer and that end buyer loses their job or dies. We can't control that. But I can tell you, I got an arsenal of other buyers. I can find somebody else for you. But we would definitely minimize it as much as possible. Just know that we are not magical beings and we can't stop all unforeseen events. Also, 401ks, old IRA monies that you forgot about through your previous employers, use that and convert it. That way, you're not really using up the money that you have in your pocket. You're using up money that you already had and you may have forgot about. What you're not going to do is you're not going to depend on the company to give you business. You have a flip, you see out with a realtor, we find a buyer, you need help with the funding, we'll go through the funding program. Cool. Don't sign up for the program if you need that money. If you can't hold that money for at least 6 months, or you can't be gone for at least 6 months or in a holding, because it's really not even gone, it's just in another account. If you can't put that money in the account for 6 months without needing it, then this may not be the program for you. And we don't need you getting all antsy after 2 months or whatever, just because we may not have even found the house yet. We may not even done the repairs yet. You are updated at all times of what's going on, but knowing that this is not the get rich quick scheme type thing, like it takes time. And then do not sign up and pledge any money that you don't have access to. That whole, oh, I'm gonna get money in 2 months due to taxes or blah, blah, blah. If it's not in your account and you have access to it, then we're not asking you to go ahead and put it up because we don't know if it's gonna actually be there. And we don't want to pull you as a capital contributor to do a deal. We have this end buyer, we got the work going on, we need your 20%, and now you don't have it. Now we need to find another capital contributor to make sure this buyer still has their house, the contractor still get paid, and the whole transaction goes through. Now, I know that was a lot. However, be sure to tune in the comments below, ask any questions that you need as far as how to actually go ahead and get involved into flipping and what that really means. Again, I'm Stephanie Stewart with Educate to Own. So go ahead and reach out 414-335-9721. Thanks.